All right, going to try to finish up the Olivet prophecy and the phrase "this generation." To summarize where we are with prophecy, key things we've learned. One, that prophecy's primary purpose is to provoke our repentance and to encourage us to endure to the end. We've also learned that prophecies often have multiple fulfillments at different times. One key example was the prophecy of the virgin or the young woman shall conceive and bear a son, that it had a specific fulfillment in the time of the prophet as well as a fulfillment many generations later. And another key principle was that the prophet himself doesn't always understand the full extent of what he's saying. Within the Olivet prophecy, Jesus acknowledges that there's at least one fact that he doesn't know, or he didn't know at that time anyway, and that is the day and hour of his return. So he also may not have known that the destruction of the temple and his final return to the earth would not be at the same time. Nevertheless, the prophecy does contain statements that refer to his final return and to the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem. We know from Matthew 28 that Jesus said, "All power and authority is given to me in heaven and on earth." So any judgments executed on the nation of Israel at the time of AD 70, that's Christ's doing. He has all power and authority given to him by his Father. In Amos 5:18, it talks about people who are longing for the day of the Lord, but the prophet says, "Why are you looking forward to the day of the Lord? It's going to be darkness, not light." And that's the way AD 70 was for the Jewish nation. It was a time of destruction. But it marked a time of transition, because before AD 70, people could still continue the temple worship. Whereas now, after AD 70, that's gone. Further illustrating that for Jews, the only answer was Jesus, just as it is for us Gentiles. So in that immediate fulfillment of the destruction of Jerusalem, that was within the literal and physical generation spoken of. It's roughly 40 years after, so that's easily seen as still being the same generation. And at this point, Christ has already begun to reign over all Jews who will submit to him. All power and authority is given to him in heaven and on earth. But there's still that latter-day final fulfillment at the return of Christ. Some have suggested that this generation, in that context, begins with the restoration of the nation of Israel in 1948. And that generation is still here. I don't know if that's the correct answer for it, because there is a prophecy that says, "I will overturn it." And people have pointed out that the nation of Israel was overturned by the Babylonians, and then a second time by the Romans, and that perhaps a third overturning is coming. So I don't know if this generation of the end times is current or still future. So to sum up, this generation refers to the literal generation at the time of Christ in the context of the destruction of the Jewish system and the installation of Jesus as the one in whom all power and authority is given in heaven and on earth. And then this generation in the later fulfillment refers to an unknown time that I'm not going to speculate further than I already have.